Summer has barely begun, and the skies over Manchester are already announcing a storm of news. Not a storm of problems, but a wave of changes shaking the foundations of the Etihad Stadium. If you're the kind of supporter who follows every step of Manchester City as if it were a decisive chapter in a novel, get ready. The chapter that opens now features new names, impactful departures, and a clear promise. A rebuild driven by ambition. Right from the start, there's a headline-grabbing piece of news stirring the depths of European football. A young talent, just 18 years old, is on the verge of donning the sky blue shirt. We're not talking about any prospect. This is a midfielder already catching the eye of continental giants, and was even on Odegaard's wish list at Arsenal. A precocious talent who could easily be molded into a global star in the coming years. But it seems Pep Guardiola moved swiftly, and the youngster is about to join City. The player's name is still being kept somewhat discreet by the English press, but what's known is that he hails from Norway and has already attracted interest from clubs like Girona, Aston Villa, and Arsenal. The deciding factor? According to sources close to the player, it was the project presented by Manchester City that shone the brightest in his eyes, and it makes sense. The club's structure, Guardiola's methodology, and their patience in nurturing young talent are an irresistible pull. But it's not just arrivals that are shaking up the Etihad. A departure is leaving a deep emotional void in the hearts of supporters. Kevin De Bruyne is packing his bags. Yes, you read that right. The midfield maestro who dazzled the Premier League for years with pinpoint passes and tactical brilliance is bidding farewell to England, and his next destination is Napoli, in Italy. The announcement, of course, came with Fabrizio Romano's hallmark seal of credibility. Here we go. A 2-year contract with an option for a third is already on the table, medical exams scheduled, and the signing imminent. At 33, De Bruyne has chosen to continue competing at a high level and will attempt to write a new chapter in Italy, at a club that also dreams big. As one icon departs, another hungry youngster arrives. Ryan Cherki, the Frenchman who exploded last season with Lyon, has landed in Manchester with the status of a gem. He registered 12 goals and 20 assists last season. But more than that, his attitude and attacking identity impressed not only fans but also club officials and Pep himself. Cherki joins for $30.5 million and has already made his intentions clear. He wants to play as a number 10, but if Guardiola has his say, he'll be deployed where he can cause the most damage. Whether centrally or on the right, where he's already shone with dribbles and vicious cuts inside, the Frenchman is ready to take on a leading role. Especially now, with De Bruyne's departure and Gundogan feeling the weight of his 35 years, there's a gap in City's creative midfield. A gap Cherki may well fill and ignite, and Manchester City isn't stopping there. Ryan Atori has arrived to bolster the fullback position, while Johnny Renders comes in as a midfield option, showing the board is acting with speed and precision. Marcus Bettinelli has also been signed as a goalkeeper, taking over the spot left by Scott Carson. What we're seeing, clearly, is a City in transition. But it's not a passive transition, it's a purposeful rebuild. We must mention the impact of the new duo running things behind the scenes. Since taking over as sporting director, Hugo Vanna has shown he's here to rejuvenate the project without sacrificing the club's high standards. His partnership with Cherki Ornstein has already become one of the most talked about in Premier League corridors. They speak the same language, and that language is built on a mix of youth, tactical versatility, and long-term vision. The focus on youth is no accident. Guardiola knows that football demands constant renewal. The cycle of triumphs in recent years was historic, but also exhausting. And last season, with underwhelming performances and a squad struggling to maintain intensity, it became evident that change was needed. Now we're seeing a new City take shape, with renewed energy and a hunger to reclaim the summit. In this context, Ryan Cherki represents more than just a signing. He symbolizes a new era. His interview on the club's official website made it clear, "I want to make my teammates shine. I prefer playing as a number 10, but I just want to be on the pitch, helping the team and making the fans happy." A message that perfectly fits the collective spirit Guardiola always preaches. And there's more. Cherki is ambidextrous. That means he can take free kicks with either foot, dribble both ways, and confuse any defender. His former coach at Lyon even said he doesn't know which is the boy's dominant foot. That's rare. That's gold for a coach who loves to extract every ounce of quality from his players. Meanwhile, a parallel storyline is unfolding in the market. James McAtee, one of City's academy prospects, is attracting attention from Bundesliga clubs. Bayer Leverkusen opened talks but backed away. The reason? City's asking price of $20 million was deemed too high. Still, interest from other German sides remains. Eintracht Frankfurt and Stuttgart are keeping a close eye. McAtee, who struggled to secure a place under Guardiola, may be entering his final season with the Citizens. With just 1 year left on his contract and a clear desire for more playing time, his exit seems a matter of when, not if. He even turned down the chance to play in the Club World Cup to represent England in the U21 Euros. That shows he wants to be a protagonist, something that may not be possible at such a competitive city. And yet another name might enter the transfer carousel: Jack Grealish. Bayer Leverkusen's new manager, Erik ten Hag, sees the Englishman as the perfect replacement for Wirtz, who's close to signing with Liverpool for over $110 million. However, City will only open talks if offers exceed $50 million. Grealish still holds internal value, and any exit will be approached with extreme caution. At the same time, the newly signed Turkish midfielder has already made it clear to Guardiola where he wants to play. Despite his versatility, the youngster aims to operate in the center, as a classic number 8, and that could work very well within the new tactical framework Pep is building. City is evolving, a club that dominates the present but also plans for the future with surgical precision. The goal isn't just to sustain success, but to amplify it, to create a new generation of talent capable of carrying forward the legacy built by De Bruyne, Silva, Aguero, Kompany, and so many other modern-era icons. And judging by the moves so far, this plan is unfolding exactly as expected. Departures are felt, but arrivals promise to write new chapters of glory. Manchester City isn't just signing players. It's rebuilding an empire on even firmer foundations. The observant fan, the one who notices the details and sees football as more than just results, has already sensed that a new spirit is taking over Manchester City. It's as if the club has decided to turn the page on a glorious chapter to begin writing an entirely new saga, with fresh faces, new ideas, and a clear desire to remain at the top, but now using different tools. The departure of Kevin De Bruyne, for instance, is not just a regular transfer. It marks the end of an era. The Belgian wasn't just a player. He was the rhythm, the brain, and often the soul of the team. His passing was the thread that stitched together every move. But like any dynasty, the end of a cycle is inevitable, and City understood this. Rather than clinging to the past, however brilliant it may have been, they chose to prepare the ground for what comes next. This transition, however, is not improvised. There's planning, analysis, and meticulous engineering behind it. The arrival of names such as Cherki and Gianni Renders shows that the rebuild involves young players with personality, but also with hunger for a place. They are not here to merely fill out the squad. They are here to fight for a starting spot. And at a club like City, that requires far more than just talent. It demands commitment, resilience, and tactical adaptation at record speed. Among these new faces, there's a common thread. They all share the same feeling: enchantment with the project. None of the young signings came just for the money or prestige. They see Manchester City as fertile ground for growth and maturity, a space where mistakes are part of the process and where excellence is chased relentlessly every single day. Ryan Cherki, for example, couldn't have made that any clearer. When he said his mission is to make his teammates shine, not to be the sole protagonist, he displayed maturity. He showed that despite his youth, he understands that at the highest level of football, the collective always comes first. And Guardiola knows how to value that kind of mindset. Cherki could indeed be the new creative force in midfield, especially now that the role is up for grabs. But he will have to prove it every single day, in training and in matches, just like every great player before him. Beside him, the young Turk is also starting his journey at the club on the right foot. Not just because of his excitement, but because he's already made it clear which position suits him best. As a number 8, a central midfielder who transitions between defense and attack naturally. Guardiola, as always, will likely mold him according to the squad's needs, but it's promising to see that the boy has personality and isn't afraid to voice his preference. Amid this backdrop of renewal, there are also tough decisions to be made. James McAtee, who just a few years ago was seen as one of the academy's brightest prospects, is close to leaving. His cycle at the club seems to have reached a point of stagnation. Despite getting valuable minutes towards the end of last season, he hasn't been able to cement his place as a reliable first-team option, and the player himself seems to have realized this. His decision to turn down a call-up for the Club World Cup with City in order to play for England in the Under-21 Euros was a clear signal. He wants to show the world that he can be a main character. He doesn't want to be just another name in a squad full of stars. He wants to be the one with the ball at his feet, and maybe to do that, he needs to leave Manchester. The negotiations with Bayer Leverkusen were a step in that direction, but the price tag set by City cooled their interest. 20 million euros for a player who has yet to explode onto the scene is, indeed, a risky bet. Still, other German clubs are keeping an eye on him, and McAtee should find a new home soon. His talent is genuine. Perhaps he just needs the right environment to thrive. And here comes a question that bothers the fans. Is City repeating the same mistake they made with Cole Palmer? After all, Palmer was also seen as highly promising. He left, and then shone spectacularly at Chelsea. If McAtee follows the same path, the questions will certainly resurface, and the club's leadership, as professional as it may be, also feels that pressure. Jack Grealish, in turn, is another name at the heart of speculation. His time at Manchester City has had moments of brilliance, but also periods of inconsistency. And now, with Erik ten Hag taking over at Leverkusen, the Englishman is being linked as a possible successor to Florian Wirtz, who is close to joining Liverpool. City, however, are unlikely to make it easy. Grealish still has market value, is well-liked within the club, and the minimum asking price is said to be around 50 million, a figure that doesn't slam the door shut, but certainly doesn't fling it wide open either. These movements show that City are constantly evaluating. No player is untouchable. Each one is analyzed based on timing, age, performance, and, of course, what they can offer to this new cycle. Pep Guardiola, by the way, has never been afraid to make bold decisions. And he said it himself. He would rather lose a player a year too early than a year too late. That's why the presence of a new sporting director like Hugo Vanna is also significant. With a vision aligned to that of Cherki Begiristain, the two form a duo that balances boldness with responsibility. They know that City must maintain their winning DNA, but they must also look ahead to what lies in the next 5-10 years. This upcoming season, which begins under the weight of great expectations and the shadow of a changing squad, will be decisive. All eyes will be on how Pep reorganizes the team without De Bruyne, how Cherki will be integrated, whether Renders will adapt to the English style of football, and whether the youngsters will be able to fill the void left by eternal club idols. The Manchester City that is being built now is a club with renewed ambition. It is no longer just the team that won everything in recent years. It is the club that refuses to live in the past, even when that past is glorious. And that takes courage. Starting again takes courage. Putting players on the pitch who haven't yet proven themselves takes conviction. But anyone who knows the recent history of the Citizens knows this club didn't build its recent greatness on money alone. It was built on ideas, on a revolutionary style of play, and on players who developed within the system. And that's exactly what's happening again, with new names, fresh bets, and the same relentless spirit. Fans, of course, will feel nostalgic. Seeing De Bruyne in another shirt will be painful, but they'll also feel hopeful, because a new generation is rising. And perhaps, a few years from now, we'll speak of Cherki with the same reverence we now reserve for KDB. Perhaps we'll talk about the Turkish midfielder as the next great maestro. And maybe, when we look back, we'll realize that this was the season when everything started anew. And if the question lingering in the air is what to expect from this new Manchester City, the answer cannot be simple. It's not just about filling the gaps left by legendary players, but about redefining how the team presents itself to the world. And this redefinition hinges on a carefully calibrated blend of youth and experience, boldness and discipline. Pep Guardiola, as we all know, is no ordinary coach. He is obsessed with control, innovation, and precision. But above all, he possesses a rare ability to see the future before anyone else. That's why, while many fans are still mourning the departure of De Bruyne, he is already working behind the scenes with the new spine of the team. He doesn't build for the next match. He builds for the next generation. Ryan Cherki, for example, looks set to become one of those key pieces. His ability to play in up to 7 different positions makes him a valuable tactical weapon. Guardiola loves players like that, those who allow multiple variations within a single match. Cherki can start on the right wing, drift centrally, switch to the left, or even act as a false 9 in a more daring scenario, all depending on the game's dynamics. This kind of versatility is not just a luxury. It's a necessity in modern football. Top teams no longer live by fixed systems. They adapt to their opponents, to the moment in the match, even to the stadium's atmosphere. And Cherki, with his ambidexterity, vision, and confidence, fits perfectly into this constantly shifting puzzle. But the rebuild is not limited to the attacking sector. City are also strengthening their deeper line. The arrival of Ryan Cherki at left back, for instance, should not go unnoticed. He's a player who combines physical strength with positional intelligence, essential for maintaining defensive balance without giving up on offensive build-up, a profile increasingly valued in Europe's elite. Another name worth noting is Thierry Renders. The Belgian box-to-box midfielder arrives with the task of filling the physical and tactical void left by De Bruyne. Of course, replacing one of the greatest icons in the club's history is no easy feat, but Renders doesn't need to be a clone. He brings his own style, intensity, vertical passing, and game-reading skills that may surprise many critics. Guardiola has already hinted he'll be tested in different contexts, reinforcing the notion that the squad is still evolving. Meanwhile, in central midfield, the young Turkish player heading to the Etihad isn't just coming to learn. He wants a place. And more than that, he wants to prove he can compete with the established names. His declared wish to play as a number 8 reveals ambition, and Guardiola appreciates that. The Spanish manager's favored formation, the dynamic 4-3-3 that morphs into a 3-2-4-1 when attacking, demands that central midfielders be intense, intelligent, and combine marking with creativity. And this youngster believes he's up to the task. It is within this context of controlled transition and future investment that City are preparing for another season that promises to be historic, not because of the household names, but because of those about to make a name for themselves. But of course, every new beginning carries an emotional cost. Seeing Kevin De Bruyne leave, seeing James McAtee on his way out, hearing rumors of a possible Grealish sale, it all hits the fans hard. These are familiar faces, stories written in sweat, goals, titles, and tears. Football, no matter how much it is a business, is still driven by emotion. Yet, there is something reassuring about how Manchester City handle all of this. The club doesn't ignore the past, but it doesn't cling to it either. De Bruyne will forever be revered, and rightly so. But that doesn't stop the board from looking ahead with confidence. The signings are not random. Each one follows a pattern, a technical, tactical, and behavioral criterion. And it is precisely this criterion that sets City apart from other financially powerful clubs. It's not enough to have money. You need to know where and how to invest. You need to identify talent before it becomes unaffordable. And this, the new management under Hugo Vanna has done brilliantly. Another point not to be ignored is the club's stance in the European market. City are increasingly inclined to sell abroad rather than within England. The departure of Palmer to Chelsea, where he immediately became a standout, raised internal concerns. Now, the preference is to negotiate with clubs from the Bundesliga, League One, or Serie A, where the risk of strengthening a direct Premier League rival is lower. It's within this logic that talks with Bayer Leverkusen, Eintracht Frankfurt, and Stuttgart are emerging. All three are keeping an eye on McAtee, all aware that Manchester City are more open to these kinds of deals. The young English midfielder's future may no longer lie in sky blue, but there's still time for one final conversation, maybe even a twist. Meanwhile, fans are following every update with eagle eyes. With every "here we go" from Fabrizio Romano, a new chapter begins. With every Guardiola press conference, a new clue is dropped. With every social media post from the club, the anticipation grows about what's coming next. And what's coming is a rejuvenated City, yes, but also a strategic, experienced, and ruthless one. A club that has learned from past mistakes, refined its machinery, and is now returning to the fray in full force. It's no exaggeration to say that this could be one of the most crucial transfer windows of the Guardiola era. With new pieces on the board, everything changes. The way the team attacks, defends, circulates the ball, controls the rhythm of the match. Guardiola loves reinventing the team every season, and this reinvention feels deeper than ever before. There's still a lot to come. Negotiations in progress, players being scouted, possible exits being debated. But if there's one certainty amidst all this, it's that Manchester City are alive. Alive, alert, and determined to write a new chapter of success. And you, supporter? Are you ready to see this new city take the field? Are you prepared to say goodbye to your idols, but also to embrace the future with the same passion as always? Because what's coming isn't just a new season, it's the beginning of a new era. With all this going on, there's no way you can afford to miss a single second, City fan. If you've made it this far, it's because you truly live and breathe Manchester City. And that's exactly why your support means so much. So go ahead and give this video a like to support our work. It really helps the channel keep bringing you high-quality content about everything happening at the Etihad Stadium. And if you haven't yet subscribed, now's the perfect time to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. That way, you'll be the first to get all the explosive transfer updates, exclusive interviews, detailed analyses, and behind-the-scenes insights no one else brings you with such clarity. This is the place for true Citizens fans. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. A big hug and come on, City.